Okay, so we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about here on this episode of Running with the Pack, and I have been a little bit slacking on the Running with the Packs, just been trying to get some other videos prepped and whatnot, but hopefully we can continue to bring some more of these. Of course, there's been a bunch of news coming out, and I just have not been able to keep up with it, and I'm anticipating more tonight, but figured I'd get this video out here. It's probably going to be either a Friday evening, but most of you guys will probably be watching it Saturday, so Xfinity race today. Well, on Saturday, so we've had the Cup entry list come out, and we found out that for the first time since 2005, we will have a father-son duo on the grid. Of course, it's John Hunter Nemechek in the 36, subbing for Matt Tifft, who is out the rest of the season, which that is kind of one of the bigger news things that I haven't covered, and I really should have covered it probably Tuesday of this week or so when I first kind of heard about it, but yeah, so Matt Tifft will not be in the car the rest of the season. It will be John Hunter Nemechek replacing him at Texas, Phoenix, and Homestead, and potentially he could get that seat if it's looking like Matt Tifft might not be available until after Homestead of next year, which of course Homestead is in March of next year, so potentially the team could let him go, and then John Hunter Nemechek could get that ride. Could maybe be an opportunity for him. Of course, he said on Twitter that he hates the fact that this is how he's getting his Cup debut, and no one wants to get their Cup debut this way, but everybody wants their Cup debut at some point, so great for John Hunter Nemechek. Really sad to hear for Matt Tifft. And he isn't the only driver with injuries that have been revealed. Denny Hamlin actually earlier today at Texas announced that he was going to be having off-season surgery for a torn labrum. Labrum. Don't really know how to pronounce it, but yeah. So it is on his left shoulder. Is going to be surgery on his left shoulder, which which he actually had a ride for the Rolex 24, which he turned down, according to, I believe, Jenna Fryer was reporting that on Twitter. She was also the one that reported the Hamlin incident, and actually, in one of his press, interviews with the press about it, he actually confirmed that it was not brought on by the fight at Martinsville last week. Though, granted, I can't imagine getting torn to the ground like that didn't escalate any potential problem that was already there. But again, he said it didn't have anything to do with it, so I guess we take him at his word there, because he knows more about his health than I do. So yeah, so that's a lot of the driver health things. Jenna Fryer was also reporting, which a lot of us know it's coming, we just don't know when they're going to announce it. I'm still anticipating it's going to be a December announcement for Kurt Busch's extension with Chip Ganassi Racing, especially with the fact that, of course, Monster Energy is not going to have to pay as much money to get roughly the same level of activation or the same level of sponsorship that they are currently in NASCAR. Of course, it won't be called the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series next year. We don't actually know what it's going to be called quite yet for next year, but it won't have a title sponsor. Mars has now signed on as one of the sponsors. It's going to take one of the top tiers. So Mars is now the official candy, which that's M&M, Skittles, in case you guys aren't aware. All the candies basically that appear on Kyle Busch's car week in, week out. Yeah, so that's, again, some of the more, silly season type of news. And then something I was expecting we were going to get more on, and one of the reasons I was kind of delaying this video till today, Tony Stewart on track at COTA. Tony Stewart, he's been driving. Yesterday he did a session where he was driving a Ford Mustang number 14 car. I believe it was the same car that they are running this week, so it's not like the next gen car. Another testing session of that. But there wasn't really any comments made about how the cars were compatible or not compatible with Circuit of the Americas, or COTA as it's called, which has, I believe it was 2012 or 2013 when they brought in the Formula One race, which is this weekend at COTA, which makes me wonder why they're having two big Texas races on the same weekend, especially when COTA for F1 had been traditionally an October race, and Texas has had this spot on the NASCAR calendar for years at this point. Probably as many, if not more, than COTA's had of races with F1, which for NASCAR, that's remarkable, because we know that NASCAR fans are always harping for the schedule to change to the point where we get a new schedule or some big shakeups every couple of years. I mean, it wasn't too long ago. Like, it was just last year we had the Indianapolis game swapped around to a very good date. Now it's going back to July for 2020, and then 2021 is looking like it's going to be a new era. Is really going to be the whole new era. But so Tony Stewart actually didn't make any comments though about Circuit of the Americas or like its compatibility with the NASCAR cars, but he did come out and basically say that he likes the direction that NASCAR is going, which I'm assuming that is probably the sponsorship model and the new car from a team owner's perspective. Of course, unless this car that he drove today was the next gen variant, I don't believe he has actually driven the next gen car, so it's hard for me to take his opinion as to think that he's got a driver's opinion on the car yet, just because he hasn't been in it, and he hasn't, and none of his drivers have been in it, because, of course, the only driver to have driven it was Austin Dillon and Richard Childress Racing, so, but yeah, so, though Tony Stewart saying something positive about the series, I think that's a major, major positive. But yeah, so, but kind of interesting that he didn't say anything about the track or its compatibility. Of course, Texas Motor Speedway currently has, I believe, some like clause in their contract that they are the only track that can hold a NASCAR race in Texas, which, of course, at the time, they were the only track in Texas when that deal was signed. Now, Circuit of the Americas is here in Austin, Texas. A fairly nice, from what I've heard, it's pretty big city. I mean, I know the name of it, which is better than most places in Texas, like Fort Worth. I don't know as much, but that's where Texas Motor Speedway is. And that clause keeps Circuit of the Americas currently off the schedule, which, of course, 2021, which is the next schedule to be announced, that would be the big one where Circuit of the Americas could get in there and take one of those Texas Motor Speedway dates, which, let's just say, track promoter there won't be very happy, especially if they lose their playoff date and end up doing a doubleheader with F1. Now, that would be interesting because, of course, we've talked about having an IndyCar NASCAR doubleheader, but a NASCAR F1 doubleheader, I mean, if you think about it, especially considering F1 moved their date to the same weekend as Texas, I mean, Eddie Gossage, the track owner over there, certainly not going to be happy if he loses his playoff date to Circuit of the Americas to add this doubleheader in. But I think for NASCAR as a series, I think that would be awesome. Cross promotion, you cross over. Of course, they're both fairly different styles of racing. I mean, open wheel versus the stock car style that NASCAR is anyway is always going to be different. But also then you have the fact that F1, of course, has all these avoidable contact and team orders things, which NASCAR is starting to lean towards, which a lot of fans, that's some of the stuff in NASCAR that fans are particularly not a fan of. I mean, even last year at Homestead, when Denny Hamlin gave up his choice of pit stall, basically, to allow Kyle Busch, who qualified second, and his teammate, to get proper pit stall selection, or to get the number one pit stall selection, which, I mean, I don't see that as too big of an issue, but of course that can escalate, and now we've heard from different drivers that Chevrolet has repercussions for not working with your teammates, or if you end up pushing a car that happens to win the race that isn't a manufactured teammate. It just kind of makes it seem more and more like an F1 style race, and F1 has a very similar business model to what NASCAR is going to, so I wouldn't put an F1 NASCAR doubleheader out of the question, even though I don't think it's necessarily, I think it's would be questioning. Then you've got guys, I mean, there were even Haas F1 drivers that were in the stock car this weekend at COTA, which, I mean, I guess how many of them are going to want to run the double? How many NASCAR drivers are going to want to run the double as well? I mean, it's a chance for these American drivers to get their feet wet, especially guys like Kurt Busch, if Tony Stewart were still racing, Tony Stewart, some of these other open wheel guys that have done IndyCar racing in the past, like Kurt Busch has done the Indy 500, and that's going to be something that I'm sure we're going to be talking about next year, but yeah, so I think that's going to open up some opportunities there. Of course, I think at least NASCAR for sure. I mean, I'm not super up to date on F1, but I know NASCAR's been needing car count, has been having car count problems, so if we can get a couple Haas F1 drivers coming over and running not terrible equipment, I mean, of course, hard to say if they're going to be in good equipment or not, because there's still that 4-car rule, and Stewart-Haas is maxed out, which brings me to my next section of Stewart-Haas now has a 5th car, which is actually like the 32 and Go Fast Racing, has actually aligned with, and actually Bob Pockris reported this on Twitter, and I probably have his tweet around somewhere, but yeah, so now Corey Lajoie's number 32 is aligned with Stewart-Haas Racing for next year. Question is Corey Lajoie going to stay there? I would like to think so, because he's done pretty well in that car. But you've got Cole Custer looking to move up. You've got Suarez, who's probably going to end up re-signing a deal, but we haven't seen that yet. Do they move Suarez to the 32 so they can move Custer in-house to the 41? Do they move Lajoie out, or do they keep Lajoie there and then just swap the Xfinity driver with the Cup driver, send Suarez to the 00 in Cup, and basically just wait and see how it goes? Because, of course, if Harvick or Boyer were to retire sometime soon, that would be an opportunity for Suarez, if he stays with the team, to stay competitive in Xfinity, maybe pick up a second Xfinity title, and then go to the 14 while staying with Stewart-Haas the whole time, which I think that would be a pretty good idea for Suarez if he is out at the 41. I think trying to propose that kind of idea, like, okay, I'll go down to the 00, because really, I don't see a obvious driver to fill in the 00 when Custer moves up. Of course, I'm sure that there are some names around that could go there. I mean, there's several truck drivers that deserve better rides than they have, but Some of them might just be truck drivers. I mean, Crafton, he's made a career in the truck series. Ron Hornaday made a career in the truck series. So it's like, okay, how many of these guys that have been there for multiple seasons are still looking at trying to move up? And how many of them are just going to end up being truck drivers that are staying in trucks? I'm not really sure, but yeah, so that was the busy episode of Running with the Pack. Lot of stuff to catch up on. Lots of driver news. So yeah, I think though it's gonna be kind of interesting seeing a father-son combo in the race though for the first time since 2005. But yeah, so let me know what you guys thought about any of the topics that I mentioned in today's video. Of course, leave a like on the video. If you guys want to support the channel, there are links down below in the description to do just that. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I probably won't have another one up until Sunday night after Texas. Or Sunday afternoon. Might even get pushed to Monday. Well, not the race getting pushed to Monday, but my review might be up Monday due to just get depending on when the Texas race gets over, because I know this one typically ends in the nighttime. But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!